All right, thanks for bearing with me.
Welcome to Habla con Mateo.
What is this?
Habla con Mateo.
Talk with Matt. Talk with Matt. All right, so the other day we talked about something called the general adaptation syndrome. It's a biologist named Hans Seeley figured out why an organism responds in a certain way to a stimulus. And we talked about how it's necessary to have a stimulus that is challenging, basically novel, something we haven't experienced before, to create the adaptation. So as an example, the first time you do 10 air squats, like in the beginner's class, you might be totaled from that because your activity level prior to that, goose egg, nothing. That's why 10 squats, which feels like nothing, absolutely wrecks you. But as you get fitter, that stimulus needs to become more challenging or you don't benefit from the stimulus. That is no different than the person who comes in here and chooses either to not push themselves with their effort, the weights that they choose, the movements they select. Eventually, the things that used to get you fit and made you fit to a certain point no longer do so because they're no longer novel, meaning new. Now, something that occurs as a result of a novel stressor is something called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. When I have brand new people in the gym, they often think this is injury. I should stop going to the gym. I have bad news. You've just signed up for this. You paid for it. And in fact, it's something you should be seeking out to a certain extent in every single one of your workouts. So delayed onset muscle soreness, there were really originally kind of two main courses of thought when it came to why does this happen? There was the metabolic theory and there was the mechanical theory. The metabolic theory was when we do high intensity exercise or anything that has a good bout of lactic acid, that lactic acid damages the muscle tissue, gives us the soreness. That is not how it works. So for anyone that's ever heard that before, lactic acid is going to make me sore, that's just not true. It's just not how it works. In fact, that lactic acid gets buffered and turned into an energy source that your body uses for high intensity exercise. But it's not metabolic. It's mechanical. It's mechanical. It's exactly that. So I want you to think about your muscle. This is going to be a very crude drawing, so just bear with me. There are two things connected. They're called actin and myosin. They're the two things in your muscles that grab onto one another and pull together to contract or shorten the length of the muscle, right? That's what happens when I do this. My bicep is contracting. Actin and myosin are pulling things together, creating that shortening of the muscle. Now, when we damage tissues, we are essentially damaging the way these two things are attached. And when they are attached, they don't want to come unattached. And we actively pull them apart from one another. And that causes damage to the muscle tissue itself. So the soreness you're feeling is mechanical damage that is intended, the stress that is intended from exercise, but that is what you are feeling. That typically starts to happen somewhere around 8 hours post-exercise, which is why you don't immediately feel sore from most of your workouts. Typically, your body has like a reservoir of things to start repairing the problems until it runs out. And then, oh shit, we don't have enough resources to patch this wall anymore. Well, the wall's gonna be kind of shitty for a little while and we're gonna slowly fix it, but we're gonna take time to buy the resources. So we start to feel sore because we've run out of resources, typically in the 24 to 48 hour window after our workout. Now, soreness can last longer than 48 hours. I've done workouts that have lasted almost a full week. Beyond a week, we should be looking at are we injured. But temporary soreness is something we want. We're seeking this out. Now, there are things that highly influence how much damage is created. And I want to read them off to you and ask you what do they sound like? A good bit of eccentric loading, which means you're controlling the way you descend in something. Either they're descending from the top of a pull-up, descending from the top of a push-up, descending from the top of a handstand, or even just going down into that nice, slow squat hold. That would be eccentric loading. Speed of loading. Move fast. Over and over and over and over again. Range of motion. How do we train here? Full range of motion or partial? Full range of motion. And then do we do things for a little bit of a few reps or a lot of reps?
Basically describing today's workout.
So what I'm getting at here is things that really influence how much DOMS you get from your training sound a lot like what? CrossFit, right? You are basically doing the perfect program to elicit DOMS. Now,
So if we're sore all the time, that's why.
potentially, yeah, potentially. Now, there are a bunch of factors that influence soreness, right? How fast you went into the program. Did you just jump in head first, or did you kind of put your toe in the water before you started? How are you sleeping? How are you eating? What is your stress like? These are all factors that play into how long you're sore for. So the real reason I wanted to bring this up is to be educational. Like, what does DOMS tell us about our training? Anyone got like a one-word answer to that?
It's working.
Fuck yeah. Effective. Effective, absolutely. What else can DOMS tell us about our training? Like, think about today, right? What muscle group do you think is going to be most sore after today? Chest, all of them. Shoulders, chest, legs, perfect. What would be a really poor workout choice tomorrow? Cindy, right? Would Cindy be a good idea tomorrow? Should we do Cindy tomorrow? Or Murph? Right? So it's effective, but it also kind of informs how we should train moving forward. What to do next?
Matt, doesn't it also tell us that if something hurts way more than normal, that it might not be normal, it might be an injury?
Potentially, yes. It could inform whether or not you were actually injured, if that was kind of run-of-the-mill soreness. So absolutely. There's one more thing that I think it should tell us that we haven't said yet.
If you're using the appropriate muscle groups to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad answer. I'd kind of file that under effective, but there's one big thing that no one said yet. What's that? Often enough? Actually, maybe. That's not what I was getting at, but that could be a thing. If you train hard one day a week, you're soon to be fucked up every single time you do it.
You're recovering?
Recovery, yeah, recovery. Specifically, it's okay to take a rest day. They are okay. It is okay to take a rest day. You are far more effective at doing 3 days at 90% than 6 days at 60%. You will get more from training this way than you will from this way. Now, a lot of you should commend yourself. You've picked up a really good, healthy habit. You come here consistently. But let you know that your DOMS can be telling you, hey, chill the fuck out and go home for a day. Now, what's nice about DOMS is that you're not probably at a giant risk of injury if you were training sore and coming in to do this. But like we said earlier, it might tell you what to do next time, right? If tomorrow was heavy back squat and you were absolutely torched from today because your legs are killing you, good idea, maybe take a rest day because your legs are torched. You already got a good leg stimulus the day before. Whereas let's say tomorrow is 5K run, everyone shows up. Right? Right?
Heavy deadlifts.
Cool. All right, so again, take home points to this, everybody. Take home points. DOMS are normal. The training that we do here is going to elicit DOMS based on how we're just training in general. Full range of motion, typically with a good amount of volume, done at full speed, and we don't neglect the eccentric, the lowering of the implement or ourselves. It also tells us, are we giving the right kind of effort? Are we coming enough? Are we doing the right intensity when we're here? These are things you should care about, right? You want to make sure that all of your time spent in here leads to an improvement in fitness. How will you know that? No, DOMS isn't the only answer. There's your workout scores, the weight on the scale, how you feel about yourself. These are all things that matter as well. But this is a nice, I'd say, correlate. I wouldn't say it's always one-to-one that you want to be torched soreness-wise from your workout, but it's a correlation between how I worked hard and how I feel it now. Gives you good information whether or not you should decide to do a Murph tomorrow when you already did Angie today. Not a good idea. Helps you understand how your body is recovering, right? If you're really sore, like Julia said before, maybe you need an extra rest day. Or you're planning one and you need 2. Perfectly normal, all right? So, I hope you found that informative and you realize that now that it's not lactic acid causing your soreness. Lactic acid is a good thing. We want to create it. It's an adaptation we're going for. It's mechanical stress, and we do that by making sure we try hard and that we don't overdo it by going too fast too soon. So like for today's workout example, some of you might have got 50 pull-ups or 50 push-ups. It's not because you couldn't do 100. It was the right dose to give you a good introduction to what Angie is, so that next time it comes up, we can have a conversation whether or not we make it harder or try to beat our score from last time. Cool? Cool. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Appreciate it.